tired of the same old, then check out Talk with Teddy. It's a variety show. And each week there are new guests and new topics. What started because of the epidemic and social distancing is now casting shadows over other shows. Talk with Teddy, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, only on WLFE DB Radio Network.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Talk with Teddy. It is a beautiful Thursday night, and we are going to have a good time here tonight. I'm actually talking with my friend Frank here and his lovely wife Liz, and we are going to be talking about Godzilla tonight. Yes, we are talking about this one.
I love it.
That is what we're talking about tonight. The man, the myth, the legend, or should I say the monster, the myth, the legend. We are talking about Godzilla because Frank and I are both Godzilla fans. He's probably a bigger fanboy to it than I am, but we are going to discuss that tonight and just have a good time doing it. Right, Frank?
Oh, yeah. It started a long time ago for me. A long time ago. I'm old.
So we are calling Frank Godzilla fanboy number 2, and I'm kind of taking the number 1 spot, even though it doesn't say that. But I think we both have an equal love for Godzilla, and we're gonna have fun with it. So, guys, please make sure you go out and like and share and subscribe to the YouTube page. Make sure you hit that little bell there for getting updates and everything else. But find us at Talk with Teddy at YouTube. And I really appreciate it. We're trying to get our numbers up there so we can get a custom URL. I know people are like, what the hell is that? Well, it's just something that's important for us. That's what we need here with Talk with Teddy. So, Frank, are you ready to get into this? I mean, yep. I even have Junior here. I mean, I even have Junior. So, yeah. So, let me say hi to everybody here first. Robert White. I don't know. I'm not sure who's on my page. It must be one of the other admins. And it must be either Cindy or Eric. But they're saying hi, Ted, and hi, Frank. Hello. Natalie Jeff Pike. Hello.
Godmother.
Oh, nice. Sweet.
Hi, Godmother.
There you go. Nick is here as well. And Tom Nally is saying Gajira. Yes, Gajira is in the house. So we can't start this off right unless we do this.
It always gives me chills. It's so awesome.
That is what we are talking about. Isn't that awesome? I mean, every time you hear that song, what happens?
Oh, it just chills go down my spine. It's freaking great because I used to go around as a kid with that in my head thinking I was smashing things on a farm.
Yeah. I mean, every time I hear that music, I'm just like, where is it? What's really cool, Frank, and you're going to be jealous. I know it. I am going next weekend to get 2 Godzilla tattoos.
Oh, that's rad. Which ones? Just
I'll have to send you pictures of them, but one of them is a little squish type Godzilla holding a butterfly net because Mothra's flying around his head.
Oh, it's like one of the chibi ones there. The chibi one. Oh, yeah. There you go.
Yeah, and then I'm getting the tribal Godzilla as well.
Tribal Godzilla.
I'll have to send them to you.
Yeah.
I will be at DeVille Inc. next weekend in Baltimore, and we are going to be getting tattoos.
That's rad. That is so rad. Our tattoo shops are closed though, so.
Well, I'm sorry.
I've been craving the pain, and I'm not getting it.
Yeah.
See, Liz is on there going, hey. I see you. Why are you saying hey? I see you there. Hey, ho ho. Robert White sounds more like the intro of. No, it's not.
Les Mis.
Robert. Les Mis. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh god, we could do that. We could actually have something sad with Godzilla. I mean, I actually did cry a few times during the
Okay.
Godzilla movies.
All I
Yeah.
know that I cried as a kid several times with Godzilla movies.
Cried even with the new one, the brand new one, King of the Monsters.
Oh,
I really
God.
You did?
Mhm.
All right, let's start at the beginning before we get to that, because and don't forget, because we need to talk about you crying on the new Godzilla King of the
Oh yeah.
Monsters. All right, but let's go. Are you ready? Let's go to the number one movie that was produced and filmed in November 3rd of 1954.
Okay.
You saw that movie. What did you think?
I actually, the first thing I ever saw with Godzilla was actually the Godzilla versus Megalon. That
Oh,
was
no
the first
kidding.
thing I ever saw, and then I went back to that like probably in the not late '90s. It was the early '90s,
Yeah.
and I thought it was great. Even though one of the biggest complaints about, say, the new Legendary Godzilla was
hmm
the first or the 2014 Godzilla. You only have like 20 minutes of him in the film. Well, the
Right.
original one, 1954, he's only in there for 8 minutes.
Yep.
So it
Yep.
was all about building everything up, and it was I loved it. I thought it was great, and I at the time I was a kid. I wasn't into black and white movies. I thought
Right.
they were lame, but when I watched that, I was like just even more put into the universe. And it was great. It was just the music, the feeling. You really caught. That was another thing too. I started understanding some issues in the world because you know. So yeah, it really pulled me in. And
What
sorry,
what
go
I
ahead.
like about that movie is the cheesiness of the Japanese movies back then.
Yeah,
I mean, it was one of the very first. Um, it was. I don't even think it was a bodysuit. I think it was just. It was something weird.
there
It was almost like a hand puppet or something. It was. It was strange. I mean, there was a bodysuit, I think, but
was a bodysuit.
yeah, but there was something else with the making of the movie, and if you really tear that movie apart, I love the movie. It's one of the best movies that. I mean, if you're a Godzilla fan, that is like the start of it all. You have to love it.
Yeah,
It's just one of those things. But looking at the way CGI is today versus the old time movies, you have to wonder how they did that.
it
You
took them
know,
months to make the suit alone, I think, and the suit at the time they had, I forgot. The gentleman who played Godzilla, he played him until I want to say, I think he did the entire Showa era, which was 1954 to 1976, I think, which was the Terra Mecha Godzilla. Excuse me, I'm sorry. They had they 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 picked someone who was a martial arts expert because he was able to pick the suit up. I think it was like
hmm
300 or 400 pounds, and
Oh, wow.
he one of the hands. The reason why you see Godzilla always walking around like this, they couldn't get one of the hands to go down, so that
right.
was practically cement, all cement. They did use in a couple of the scenes was claymation, and then you're right. The scene where he's walking, the city's burning right here, and then you see him walking like that. That was a stick.
hmm
So,
Right.
but
Right.
all the atomic blast scenes, which at the time was just steam coming out of his mouth, which actually it's what it's supposed to be. Um, that was claymation and everything. So
Yeah,
it
but
was
it's just amazing. It's just all
it
amazing.
set the standards for I think practical effects. It was one of the first movies that really used it. The especially like latex and all that stuff. I think that's when they really. I'm sorry, it wasn't latex. It was I forgot what they made the suit out of. It was like rubber and something else. So, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, all I know is that it was amazing.
Mhm.
You have to think about the work that goes into these things, and it wasn't my favorite year of Godzilla, or the favorite look, I guess. Um, I'm kind of stuck with the '60s and '70s look I like better, but It's the start, man. You got to start from somewhere,
Yeah.
and the way they put these movies together back then was amazing. I'm happy that they put English to it because I don't speak Japanese, so
Oh yeah. Well,
you
they put
know.
names
But
to it in Godzilla 1955. So the first one's Gojira. The
hmm
remake or the American one was Godzilla, and that's
hmm
also when they brought in another actor was Raymond Burr.
Raymond Burr, and
And
they are both available as separate movies. They're not
yes,
the
sir.
same movie,
Yep.
and so if you're a collector or you want to start collecting the movies, you have to look at both of those and you have to collect both of them.
Yep.
But I will tell you, pricey. Godzilla movies today are pricey.
They are, and when I was going through some tapes right now, I was kicking myself in the ass because I have one of the rarest ones, video cassettes, and I'm like, why did I do this as a kid? And it's the Godzilla 1985 from New World Video,
Mm,
and to this day, you cannot get this because they still, whoever owns the company now, I want to say it's New Line Cinema or something like that, but they will not release the rights of it. They will not. So what they did to get around that, they re-released Godzilla 1984, which is the return of Godzilla. So
right,
yeah,
right. So the 1985. Well, there are scalpers out there if that's black marketers with that
oh
stuff that you can get it though if you want. So the 1985, if you actually look it up, actually points you to 1984.
yes, in 1984, the return actually is 20 or 30 minutes longer. They actually have
Right,
a whole bunch more stuff. They have a scene in there where he's trampling on people or going after them and all that stuff,
Yeah.
which
right.
they cut from the 1985 version because they didn't want to look so violent or something like that. I don't know.
Right.
I was a kid. I loved it.
Yeah.
Me too, man.
First
Me
one,
too.
Godzilla
Uh,
versus the smog monster was her favorite.
Oh, Godzilla vs. the
yeah.
Smog Monster was one of the most psychedelic movies ever.
It was. It was. But believe it or not, it was one of my least favorites. Believe it or not.
That suit was getting ready to be retired too. They did one more movie after that with that particular suit, which was Godzilla
Right.
versus Gigon.
Yep. Now I'm gonna go back here real quick. Cliff Cameron was putting on here. He said, "Love Raven Burr. That movie made me a Godzilla fan," and it's true. It brought the American people to Godzilla. That was
It,
the plan, and it worked. You know.
oh yeah,
Um, so Nick says, first one I saw was the 1956 re-release of Godzilla King of the Monsters with Raymond Burr. Um, and yeah, the one that Natalie was talking about, Smog Monster. Um, Eric is saying that's why I'm all about practical effects. Well, I forgot that Eric does a lot of that stuff. So yep, yep.
Well,
Um,
I don't see that message.
Oh, I have it. I have it here somewhere. Let's see. Over here on the watch party, I want to say hello to Lorde, to Sean Miracle, Phyllis Beach, Carrie Ann, my cousin, and my aunt are both on here. David Miller, hello, sir. Ernie Atwell and Sandra Olivia, um, or Arlarvia. Ooh, there's an R in there. I missed it. Sorry. Let's going back down here to Nick says he's talking about uh, Hero or Hero, however you want to pronounce it, was the original actor of Godzilla. He played the character as well as other monsters during the show era from 1954 to 1972, with Godzilla versus Gigan being his last before he retired.
that's yeah.
Now, I loved when Godzilla had humor. That was one thing that drawed me more into the movie. In all of his movies was the humor because you can watch those movies and see the humor in Godzilla, especially when he's fighting other monsters.
Yeah.
Especially when he's jumping up and down and he's got his fist ready to go as a karate chop type thing. Um, I you can almost imagine him smiling when he's ready to go, beat somebody up. So it's just fantastic. The other thing about Godzilla movies that I love is that there are underlining stories for people, especially growing up.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, think about Son of Godzilla. You know,
Well, yeah. A father finally finds his son, or I guess you would say goes. All right, he doesn't exactly find.
He doesn't find them, but he teaches them a lesson that
He does.
you need to stick up for yourself.
That you stick it. He taught him how to fight, and then
Yep.
the next movie was Godzilla, I think,
Mhm.
on Monster Island, and that's where he stand up to his bully.
Yep.
And it
Yep.
was that was actually one of the weirdest ones too. That was a dream. That's technically part of the canon.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It was that kid's inner whatever battle, trying to figure out what to do with this bully.
yeah, he was a fan of Godzilla, and he was a kid who was watching movies, and that's what taught him to stand at the bullies. That was actually too when he became he became an anti-hero in, was it Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster? That's when Godzilla became an anti-hero in that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Ghidorah's one of my favorites. Always has been.
We're not talking about you. It's me and Frank here, woman. No, I'm just picking. She's gonna beat me up now. I'm just picking on her. Yeah, no, I love. There's absolutely no monster that I hate. I do think there's some that are just so goofy looking that I don't consider them monsters.
yeah,
I mean, the smog monster is like. I don't know. I just have no idea. I don't know. It doesn't look like a monster to me. It just looks like a pile of goo with eyes, with one big eye.
well, I mean that was the purpose of it.
Well, I know, but still, it's just like didn't do anything for me. But it's a Godzilla movie.
It very much is, and is very much in the canon. It was one of those things that you just, if I knew it was out there, I had to go see it. It didn't matter how terrible it was.
Yep.
It didn't matter what it was. I went and saw it, and I even the two movies where he lost, I couldn't, as much as I hated it, I still had to see it,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm telling you, the which one was it? I'm gonna get this wrong, and I'm gonna have to kick myself in the head. When Junior dies. And
Destroya. Godzilla versus
Destroya, yeah. And Junior dies, and then he comes back, because that's the way they leave it. Pretty much.
They were originally going to go on with the series because the actual, again, I can't remember the things that escape me from the movies are the actual suit actors and the guy who created everything. I can't think of his name, but right before Godzilla versus Destroya, he died. So that was kind of like EC saying we're done, but we're going to send him off, and Godzilla never officially dies. So,
right.
And the whole thing with him melting down. The whole premise of the movie is basically Monster Island implodes on itself. Well, Godzilla was on Monster Island when it happened, I think it's called not Infant Island. It's I forgot what it's called. But he's on the island when it implodes, and there's a ton of radioactive material underneath the island. So he absorbs the entire amount of radiation, everything. So then you get burning Godzilla, where he's just burning everywhere.
Yep.
Did I just show? Yeah, right here. You can see that right there. You have him just completely melting down, and he has only so much time to find Junior, which that's the whole premise of it. They don't understand what Godzilla's doing. Why is he going from city to city to city, destroying things? He's trying to find his son because he knows he's dying. Well, along the way, they encounter something from his past, which was the oxygen destroyer. And in the crustaceans and all that stuff, it somehow mutated them. They became bigger and bigger and bigger, and they all formed into Destroya. Then Destroya kills Junior. When Junior dies, Godzilla goes ballistic. And it's also the first one in that series, too, where Godzilla doesn't kill the monster. The army does. The army finally does it. They finally destroy the monster. Once they destroy the monster, that's when they have to try to freeze him or something.
Right.
and he
Because of his temperature getting way too high, and then they try freezing him. Yep.
and then he melts down, and they think he's finally gone, which was one of the saddest scenes ever because they show him literally melting down,
Yep.
his skeleton melting down,
Yep.
and then just blowing up,
Yep.
and then they think everything's over with. But the body that was next to him when he melted down was Junior, and he becomes the new Godzilla, and that's the last scene of the E60 series, which they weren't planning on doing anything else. They were like, "This is done. We're done." So, and then you get the Millennial series right after that.
Yep. Let's see. There's a few more comments on here. Robert White says at least they made good use of all the styrofoam for the buildings. That's true.
Yes.
Though the actor who played Hedorah and Gigan in the early 1970s was eventually played Godzilla in the late 1980s and 90s.
Another thing I forgot about.
Yeah. And Eric is saying, "Oh wow, didn't know that, but back in the day, things were different back then with what you could show on a movie and what you could not show." That's true. That's definitely true. Cliff was saying, "Is he talking about the Matthew Broderick one? I hated that they took away all the Godzilla's empathy and feeling it was just a big lizard movie." You know what? There's a controversy in the Godzilla groupie. Big groupie. There's a bunch of us that I shouldn't say us because, well, yeah, fuck it, I'll throw it out there. I'm not a fan of that Godzilla, but I on the collectible side, it's worth a lot of money. You know, but I'm still not a fan of it. And then they didn't. I think maybe if they would have done something more with it, maybe. I could have gotten behind it, but there was just so much of it that was just not. I don't know. It didn't feel like Godzilla. It didn't feel like, Americans screw up everything. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, that's your French film.
That's true. That's true.
That was very much a French film.
Yes, I know it was French, but yeah, and thank you, Robert, for straightening that out. He said no, he was talking about the original one.
Okay. And that one, they did go on with it. If you are interested with the cartoon, though.
Yeah, and see that to me, that's not me.
Brought back the Hanna-Barbera style, not style, but some things from the Hanna-Barbera cartoon in that cartoon, and they did bring some monsters over and have their own versions of them, like Mechagodzilla and all that other stuff. So, and they actually kind of made him more like that, where he actually had an atomic blast, and his spine's lit up as he's, getting ready to shoot his atomic blast out, and they did a lot of good stuff with it. But they made him more of a pet than anything else in that too. Matthew Broderick's character in the cartoon. Says up there.
Distortion's on saying hi to you.
Oh, hello, Distortion. I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I'm like, what's going on here? I'm talking. I don't.
Yeah, there's so many movies. Well, what is there? 36 movies, I think, in total. I think it's 36. Hold on. Yes, 36 in total. Will be 36 because of, it is 36 because of Godzilla versus King Kong, the new one that everybody's waiting for.
Yeah.
But there are some other ones that are out there that are I've been seeing them a lot lately. They mix them up with some. Oh God, I wish I was going to write it down and bring it forth, but there was another series of. Was it Ultraman or something like that, where they brought in Godzilla? What was it?
Stone Fighter.
Okay, where Godzilla would come and help them and all that stuff. Yeah.
A lot of the loopholes, and the one thing that Toho was actually really good at, they created a universe, and then they created a TV show to go along with the universe, which is. The MCU literally copied Toho. I'm gonna say that because the MCU, they had the movies, and then they're like, okay, we're gonna go ahead and do Agents of Shield and stuff like that. That kind of ties in with the universe. And excuse me, sorry, I have drinking.
That's all right.
The premise of Zone Fighter, he was like Ultraman. He could shapeshift into a giant, I guess, cyborg, or I never watched all of it,
Right.
but he could turn into a giant who fought monsters, and then when he was getting his ass handed to him, they would call Godzilla. And that was between the Godzilla versus Megalon and then Terra Mechagodzilla, which was the last couple movies that Toho did with the Showa era. And what they did with that series was they tied up a couple I guess you say not loopholes, but like what happened to Gigan. And what happened to Gigan, Zone Fighter, he killed him in that. Zone Fighter, he fights King Ghidorah, gets him away from Earth, all that stuff. Excuse me, I'm sorry. So yeah,
I haven't seen all those, and I want to see them. In fact, I've been trying to get them on CD. I just started. You can get copies of them.
I want to say they're on YouTube too, or a couple of the episodes I watched was on there. I didn't discover that series until I want to say 2009.
I just discovered it, so
Yeah.
you know. So,
I always watched Ultraman as a kid, and I was like, this is just like Ultraman, but they never brought it over to the United States. And Ultraman was, I think, Toho too, I want to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, all these great monsters came out of the Godzilla series anyways. Mothra, Rodan, or as some of them say, Radon. And I mean, there's just so many different names for some of these monsters.
Varen, the flying, the flying demon, which is the second oldest. He came out in 1955, I think.
Which one was that?
Varen the Flying Demon. That's one of the movies I couldn't find, and I still to this day don't have. And I haven't seen it. But I know it came out right after Godzilla Raids Again, which was 56 or something like that. So.
Yeah. See, you are an ultimate fan, man. You got more than me, that's for sure. Especially the knowledge. I refresh my memory. But see, as a kid, I just loved watching it. I didn't get into, I didn't dive into it like everybody else in the fan genre. I didn't get into all of it. I had a life that was so freaking crazy back then. So too much going on that I didn't focus on that. You know what I mean? And but I'm a huge fan still. I mean, shit, I got a nice little collection working. I've got 12 more coming by the end of the week. Oh yeah,
I forgot
12
to
or
tell you
15.
that.
12 or 15. What's that?
I said you spent some money then if you got more.
Oh, I've spent some major money.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I haven't even touched the big ones yet. There are some that are like $3,000.
Yeah, when you get into
and I can't. Yeah, and I can't touch those. But I do have two of the big 43 inches right now. I have the 2014 version, and then the 2019 version of that, of the new Godzilla.
The 2014 version, I don't think you can. It's hard to find, right? Isn't it? Because it was. I think it was a Toys R Us exclusive.
Yeah, hold on. Let me grab it.
I might be wrong. I'm probably wrong, but
Taking Advil.
This is the one that when the first Godzilla movie came out, the new version of the Godzilla,
the one that Gareth Edwards saved.
this big old behemoth.
Almost knocked my laptop over.
This big old behemoth.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
There's only one thing wrong with it.
Oh, what is it?
The tip of the tail is missing.
Oh, did it break off? Oh, that is.
So I bought it hoping that the guy would find the tail.
Oh.
So I am actually looking for a tip to complete it.
You could technically say it's Godzilla 2019 because the tail was
yuck.
more than that.
Yuck. And
I'm sorry.
yeah, and
Whoa.
He's such a biggie. Hold on.
Oh, that is rad. That is so rad.
Yeah.
Robert White said it's just battle worn.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's just battle worn. That is super cool.
That one is complete.
Pull up that one.
Oh, so one of the I brought out some of my toys that I found, and actually, I mean, I can't believe I did this as a kid, but I did. I got this when I was. Oh man,
I don't have that one. I'm jealous. I don't have that one.
I have to repaint it because I had a paint set when I was a kid, and I did that to it. I was trying. I want to say I was trying to do. Well, what if Godzilla had King Ghidorah's paint scheme, and I did his spines gold, and then I put some gold. I don't know if you can see it, but I put some gold on his arms. I feel so bad. I was like, oh, what did I do? So I got a new project to actually go and fix this. But
yeah, I mean, can't you get something to clean that paint off? There's got to be something.
Yeah. I could take it down to right. I think probably down to the plastic almost, and
we can always repaint it.
Yeah, and just repaint it black the way he's supposed to be because that's the color. He's not green. He is black.
Yeah. All right, let's get to some of these comments up here.
The new James Bond Godzilla.
Yeah.
I love it. I love distortion. I don't know jack shit about Godzilla.
I will teach you.
Yes, he will.
Learning.
he will teach you. Let's see. Yes, Frank is the ultimate fan. Let's see. Yep. Which is why Gigan is not there assisting King Ghidorah in the fight and Destroy All Monsters. If you look at the, yes.
Destroy All Monsters is too the last film, technically.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Based far in the future.
So, Very in the Unbelievable from 1958 was what Nick was saying. Yes. I think Claire is saying, Distortion is saying, I think a guy stole a 2-foot Godzilla collectible from a booth at Mad Monsters that was worth $1,000. Oh, easily. There are some Godzillas worth, I think the most I've seen is $3,000.
Yeah. There's a lot of, going, if you could ever get over to Japan, they do a lot of Godzilla, like Godzilla cons and stuff like that. The hotel that they have right now where you can wake up and you can actually see a life-size Godzilla right there, and they actually have him built and all that stuff. When the 2014, when 2019 came out, they made from the chest up, they made a life-size Godzilla for him in a park, and it was pretty neat. They do a lot for this guy, so.
Yeah. The new James Bond Godzilla. Ha ha ha.
Because it's gold.
GoldenEye Godzilla.
Yeah, that's what it is. Eric says it's battle damage.
Yeah.
Thanks, Cliff. Poor Ted is looking for another tip.
Another thing I did to it, I don't know why, but I don't even know why I clipped that off right there when I was a kid.
Yeah. Let's see, which, is that a Toho version on the bottom? That's a Toho version, right?
This is, by the toes, and this is going to sound weird, you can tell which Godzilla it is by the toes. Showa has 3. PC has 4. Just separated like a giant shoe. Then, on the Millennial series is when they actually started making it more like an animal foot with the toe going off the side. All that stuff. But yeah, this is a PC series. I want to say it's almost like an off-brand, but it's clearly not.
Isn't there a date on this foot?
I'm sorry?
Isn't there a date on his foot?
There is. Oh, 1985. You were right. If you can see that, and it's not going to focus.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
but still, I mean, yeah.
So it came out for the Godzilla 1985.
There you go. There you go. Let's see here. Nick was saying, forget to mention got my Gojira 1954 shirt on for this. Ah, nice.
Oh,
Too
that's
bad we
rad.
couldn't share it with us. Oh, Nick says he's got the same one.
Oh, cool. I'll totally trade you.
I mean,
I bought this one, or my parents bought this one for me in the 80s.
Nick, do you want to sell it?
It's totally got it's got value here, right?
yeah, it does have value. It's funny. Robert White is saying U.S. $3,999.99 for Japan Rare X Plus Gigantic Series Godzilla 2019.
Ooh, X Plus is one of the best ones that make them.
Yeah, and Saint what's the other one? Saint shit. There's another company. Their detail is amazing.
There's a few of them. I think even like companies like doesn't the ones who make the new the cartoon accurate Transformers are also the ones who make a lot of the movie accurate Godzillas. And the thing with the movie accurate Godzillas is you're not getting a Godzilla that would look like a beast.
Are you talking about? Is that NECA?
NECA? Yeah, NECA's one of them.
Yeah.
You're getting a Godzilla that has all the suit scenes.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting all that stuff, which makes it even cooler because you're actually just getting the movie version of him. You're not getting like, oh, this artist is going to do his version of the 1976 Godzilla.
Yep. Let me see here. I had to go out and buy a display case for all of my Godzillas.
we should.
I should. I have mine. I have a couple of mine put up. Pretty much.
Now here's your 3-toe.
Yep.
All right. Which is actually my favorite Godzilla.
It's nice.
The frog face.
The frog face from Son of Godzilla and stuff like that.
Yep. And then of course you've got the 4, but the one is off to the side.
Oh wait, I think is that
Oh wait, why am I doing
Oh, that's
that?
1954. Oh, it did have 4 on the side.
Yes, this is 1954.
Yeah.
Yep. For
Whoops.
some reason, he's got a little white mark on his front and on his knees, so I don't know what that was all about. But and then, of course, if you go to the newer series, where it's off to the
Godzilla.
side.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's the one where they started making him more look like a wolf.
The wolf face, yes. This is the Millennium series, and then
Distortion has a funny question, but cool question.
then and see they changed because this one has the shorter, fatter tail. It is curved a little, but the back half of this Godzilla is a little larger, and it does have the wolf face.
Yeah, that's all the Godzilla versus Megaurus. So it was where he's fighting a mutated dragonfly.
Yeah. Yep. I just ran over my big Godzilla here. Let's see, and then of course you go to the series, the new series.
The one where his spines aren't so big like the new ones yet.
You know, yeah, and he's more of a black color. His feet are, anyways.
Yeah. So the whole purpose of him being darker or black is because of the nuclear blast.
Yeah.
So he was blasted, and he doesn't have. It's not scales; it's scars that he has. Oh, GMKD. That is one of the all-time best Godzilla movies. That's actually that's the chunky Godzilla too, where he has a pot belly and
Yep.
everything.
Yep.
That is what people refer to as Ghost Godzilla.
Yeah.
Because
And he's not cheap.
he's very not cheap.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I actually have collected. Now, there's a few versions of some of these that are duplicate, but they're actual. You have to look at the bottom of them because the model numbers are different, and some of them are worth more than others
Yeah,
for some
they are.
reason.
Well, they
You
don't
know.
they just they put one out. They have some problems with that one, and then they reissue it, right?
Right.
And
Right.
a lot of times, if you get the one with the problems, even though your OCD or my OCD would kick in left and right, but I would be like, it's worth money. Put it up and put it in a box. Go buy the new one so you can play with it.
Give it to the kids. Screw you,
Exactly.
woman. Put it in the box. Put it away.
Put it in a box. Don't touch it. Don't look at it. Be Steve Carell from 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Let's see.
What about his obvious homosexuality?
Let me go back here a little bit. So Distortion Head says, I have an honest question. Would you consider Reptar from Rugrats an off-brand Godzilla?
Yes.
Yes. Reptar, obviously. There's any of the giant monsters in cartoons that where they're running through the streets, destroying things, that is directly related to Godzilla.
Yeah.
Because that's how much Godzilla influenced kids. Especially Rugrats. And that it came out in like the 90s, wasn't it? Like,
Yeah.
I love Rugrats.
yeah, so
I was never a big fan of Rugrats, but yeah, and there's a lot of stuff out there like that.
yeah. I
Hey,
never got into
I'm
it.
older, woman. I'm older. I wasn't into Rugrats.
Like I said, I'm also 33, so like I love Rugrats.
Yeah,
And then,
30.
of course, there's
I'm
that-
20 years older than you.
Reptar is awesome, okay?
Cliff says I had no idea that Godzilla figures and movies were worth so much. This is a real eye opener. Oh my God, Cliff! If you just go into Godzilla, even like Target or whatever, just put Godzilla figures and search and search for them. In the Google search, you will be amazed how much some of these things are worth. In fact, I've got a piece coming that is very rare, and it's very, very hard to find, and that's Manila, the little baby Godzilla.
Yeah, mini. It translate. It was they took Mini Zilla, put it together, and it Manila. That's how they did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's only probably 3 to 4 inches tall, and he's a very rare piece. There's one on a group that I had joined. There's one for sale for $111.
Oh wow, that is
Okay.
they.
It's amazing.
Well, when you go into if you ever go into Target, you go over to their movie section, and they have their Friday the 13th movies and stuff like that. You can find some of the NECA stuff. Not NECA. Is it NECA? Yeah, I'm sorry, NECA. And they'll make Godzilla. Just for example, I'm not saying they make it, but they'll have Godzilla 1985, and he's in his pose, and they start off, I'm gonna say like around like $30 or $40, maybe
Right.
$50, and then they go up from there, and then you go get your piece, and all of a sudden you can't find them ever again. And
Yeah, I mean, there's pieces that you find now. I should go down and get it. But there are Godzillas that you can buy one day for $19.99 at Walmart, and then you get home and you look it up on Google, and it's worth $60 instantly.
yeah, people buy the crap out of these toys
Yeah.
just so they can turn around and make a huge profit off them, because there are people,
Oh.
all of us, who will be
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I want it, take my money, please. So
Oh,
I can
yeah.
just sitting right
Yep.
there and look cool.
Yep. Let's see. Yeah, Cliff is just saying again. I'm sorry, I had no idea. It took me forever. I'm 53 years old, and I just started collecting. I actually have one piece that I have since I was a child, and it was the 1970. I have two of them. Hold on a second. Let me see where it is here. And they're going rapidly. I'll just take one of these pictures off here and show it to you instead of going downstairs to go grab it. No, this one's 1980. Mine's 1977. Save image. Yeah, Shogun actually put out the Godzilla. It was the Shogun Warrior Godzilla. And yeah. And there's a couple different ones. And
I don't think I've heard of that brand.
Really? The 1964 version, he was 19 inches tall, and right now you can still buy them because people had stored them away. You can buy them for $250 a piece.
Is that the one where he's making the pose, like his hands going like this? Or I know it's weird because obviously all his hands are always going like this, but it's almost like he's clawing a little bit, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I have.
Let me show you. I just downloaded the picture.
Oh, it does look like you can see my butt. That's my thigh.
I was trying to let you know. I was like, well, bro, everyone's getting a show here, babe.
That's literally my thigh. My butt is covered.
I was all, yeah, babe.
Hey, cover that up.
That's my thigh.
Keep it slightly more than PG-13 here.
Oh, we are rated R.
I could be sitting here like.
Oh my god.
Hey, I left my legs closed.
I know.
All right. That's the Shogun.
Oh, it's one of those little pieces you would find in the store, like just randomly.
He wasn't little. This guy stands 2.5 feet, I think.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
That is something worth getting if you can get it. Like,
ooh.
I had at one time. I think I still had it up until a few years ago.
And this one's been repainted. Look at his foot.
Yeah,
he's got green on his toenails.
That's green. It looks like it started, or that's damage, maybe where the paint's coming off.
I don't know. There's no green. Those are. Oh, sorry. Those are actual yellow pieces.
Oh yeah. I had a couple of little. It was it was little Godzillas, and they stood right in your hand, and you would pinch their back, and their arms would come open, and then they would close down on.
Yeah. Those are little clips.
Yeah, they were neat.
They were little clippers. You can clip them to your hand, your book, whatever.
Yeah, I loved them. I would take it everywhere with me when I was in elementary school, and the girls and stuff like that. I'm like, hey, you want to see this? And they're like, oh my god, it's a lizard, and they would run off. I'm like,
yeah.
Boy.
Yeah. It's just amazing on how much some of these are going for. It's crazy.
There's a real fandom for this stuff. I mean, obviously there's fandom for a lot of things, but Godzilla fans are some of the most dedicated fans you will ever see, and some of the coolest, because they're not like, well, I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I'm not this dude who's like, oh my god, you don't know about this? How dare you? How dare you? And I was like, no, let's go watch the movie together. I'll show you right now. You know? Yeah. So
yeah, it's the and the show. Let me see if I can bring this up. It's just amazing how much some of them are.
Why is that one so fun?
Just to give you an idea, the Shogun Godzillas that I have are going anywhere between $200 to $560.
Oh wow! How many do you have? You just have one or two?
I have two.
Oh wow! People collect the weird ones. They're like
Yeah.
the 99-cent store. Like you just walk in there and you go to the toy section and you see this off-brand Godzilla. And
What's funny is you can find them at flea markets, yard sales.
yeah,
People have them and they just, oh, $20, $5. So
I
when I
had,
see that stuff, you just buy them, pick them up because you never know.
I had a Godzilla toy at one time. You would take them and like you would take them like whatever. You fill it up with water right here, and then the whole belly would be full of water, and you had on the tail you had an open spot, and you would blow on it, and it would spit out water like his atomic blast. And I think that entire summer my mom got mad at me because all I did was run around just doing that. And all of a sudden out of nowhere I just didn't have the Godzilla anymore because she got fed up with it.
I wonder if you could find that Godzilla today and what it would be worth.
I'm pretty sure you could find it. It could be worth a lot of money. I mean, games, stuff like that. But Nintendo Godzilla, that is one of the. I think it's one of the.
Nintendo?
I'm sorry.
That you said Nintendo?
Nintendo. Oh no, so there's the Nintendo game where they came out with Godzilla. It was like in the. They came out with it in 19. Oh, it was prior to the Super Nintendo coming out. So
Yeah,
they
it's
had.
from 1989.
Yeah.
There's a used one here for $719.
Yeah, it's not cheap. And I used to have one, and I was trying to find it right now, and I know it's stored away. But it's Godzilla on a board, and Mothra. You play as Godzilla and Mothra. You move them on a board like a chessboard almost, and then you go every time you can start a level up, and you basically go through the level, and you're destroying things, and you're fighting aliens. And then you end up going to different planets and stuff like that, and you fight Mulgara, you fight Mechagodzilla, you fight Ghidorah. Mothra was one of the worst characters to play on there, but it was fun. You had his atomic blast. He would punch, kick, and use his tail to attack. So people basically sought after that game. They loved it. I loved it. It was great. It was fun. I don't know which company it was, but they made that toy Godzilla, and they made him blocky like the game, like a sprite. They had the paint scheme on him, just like a sprite from the game, and it was super neat. I saw it a few years ago, and I wish I would have bought it, but I don't think they're making it again at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, I was telling you about the PS4 game.
Wait a second. There you go. Right there.
Ah.
I bought it used, but there you go. I bought it for, what was it?
I want one so bad.
$17.95.
Well, no, I bought it for 18 because I don't have their whatever.
I told you, if you find another one.
So.
If you find another one.
Yeah, it's fun, and I think they actually took it off I think what I was telling you before, they took it off the PlayStation Store. I don't think you can get it on there anymore. I saw it on there when I got my PS4, and I was like, oh my god, I gotta go get this. It was one of the reasons why I got a PS4. That and Call of Duty, because for some odd reason I'm big in that.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, I need to go get this, telling myself. And I was like, at the time I was like, I don't want to just download stuff. I like to have a physical copy of things.
Right.
And I searched all my GameStops around me, and the one it's literally around the corner for me right now. They end up having one in stock, and I ran over there and got it as fast as I could. Came home and played the crap out of it. It's very fun. It has my favorite roar, his roar, which is the Godzilla 1985, where he sounds just bestial, just out there, just destroying everything. Like he's
right.
just like, on point. So.
Yeah, you can't touch that game right now the average price is between $150 and $280.
I got lucky. And found it used. Otherwise, I would.
You got very lucky. I know that I'm looking for one. So, oh yeah, and I probably wouldn't open it either. I probably would just leave it wrapped.
Oh, I had to open it. I had to play it. I was like, I got to do it. And you play him like a tank. If you've ever played tank games,
Yeah, I do.
You have the controls and you move him like that, and then it's weird because you have your controllers, your bumpers that you use to use his blast and all that stuff, and it's cool. I like it. It's fun.
Hmm. I gotta get one. Maybe I'll have to get two somehow.
You
It's a
can.
lot of money to spend though, man.
It's fun, and there's a ton of stuff to unlock on there. A ton of stuff.
Ugh.
They do the whole. I think they call it. It's been a while. The last time since I played it, I just pulled it out for you. It's called.
It's how you pulled it out for you.
Oh, I don't do that normally. I'm sorry, I'm just kidding.
He's married now. He doesn't do that anymore.
No.
Well, I mean, $20 is $20, right?
He does
okay, yeah, it is.
it has the whole this whole thing called G Power or G Force.
I remember
You
G-Force.
go around
Yeah.
collecting things, and you have to build your Godzilla up, and
Right.
you make him bigger and bigger. Eventually, the final form of him in this is Burning Godzilla, which is he melts down. But they they combine all the elements. They combine everything from the Showa series. They combine everything from the Heisei series. I didn't get too far in unlocking things, but I'm pretty sure they didn't do anything from the Millennial series. But they do have Legendary Godzilla in this because this came out when Legendary Godzilla came out. So that was the one of the things they put in there was you get to play as Legendary Godzilla, which he's a badass too.
Nick Mule has a fantastic question for you guys. If you guys want to check that out.
Who was that? Who does?
Nick.
Nick. How far down is? Oh,
He just repeated it, so.
hold on, let me get down there. The only thing I see is not sure if you guys saw my question, but if you don't mind me asking again, are you guys aware that there was recently an unauthorized Godzilla movie that was made back in 1983 called Godzilla vs. Wolfman that was discovered? They also made another movie like that in 1972, which another Godzilla monster fighting the Wolfman, Baragon vs. Wolfman.
It wasn't 83. It came out directly after Godzilla or King Kong versus Godzilla. They actually made it. It had no sound, and they scrapped it. It actually looks pretty cool. There's supposedly Toho keeps saying every year they're going to finally do something with it, but they don't. So I've seen snippets of it, and originally that was supposed to be the first movie where Godzilla started becoming a good guy. And it was the only other movie where they used I guess you would say that suit is like one of the first frog suits, or the reptile where his eyes are up on top, not on the side or in front. It was one of my least favorite suits by them until they made the toy of Godzilla from King Kong versus Godzilla. I actually liked that toy a lot. But that was when they were supposed to start making him a hero, and they never released it. He didn't become an anti-hero until 2 movies later. So, yeah. But you can find snippets of the movie on YouTube, and that's where I've seen a couple of things of it. It's pretty cool, actually. I think it's something with a gentleman or something. Or a guy becomes radioactive, and there was something along those lines, and turns into a giant wolfman, and then he's fighting Godzilla. And they did that because at the time they started doing the whole, okay, we need to cross everything over, and because they crossed over Kong with him, which is a universal monster. So like, okay, well, let's go ahead and just do another universal monster, which was the Wolfman. So, yeah, it's cool if you can ever find it.
I would like to see it. So yeah, there is a baby Godzilla. There's also Junior. So there's 2. Actually, they did change his appearance. There's 3, yeah, because he did change his appearance for baby Godzilla at one point.
Actually, I'm sorry, there's 5.
There's 5.
So you have Manila.
Minya. Well, yeah, you have Minya. You have
Junior. Then you have the Heisei baby Godzilla, which is I'm sorry, no, you're right. I messed up.
Yeah,
That's-
there's
you
3,
have
I think.
2 versions of him. You have the cute chibi version of him, which is even though a giant, and you have
Right.
then you have Final Wars, which they went back to the Minya version and brought him back.
Right. Yep.
Final Wars came out in 2004.
Right.
Excuse me.
Yeah. He was a little bigger though.
So,
But yeah.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Another thing that's actually really cool about the Final Wars, if you hated Godzilla 1998, Godzilla hits Godzilla and destroys him with one tail swipe and an atomic blast.
Yeah, it was great. It was
Yeah.
great.
It was
Yeah.
awesome.
Talk about the fact that it was Zilla and not Godzilla.
So, yeah. So, Toho, when Godzilla 1998 came out, Toho came out and they were fed up with it. They were like, no, this can't happen. Me, myself, I actually liked Godzilla 1998. I thought it was a fun movie to go and watch if they changed the name of it. It is not Godzilla, but it can still be a monster in the Toho universe. Even Toho licensed it. They could have done whatever they wanted with it to finally get their foot in the door. They already had their foot in the door, but to finally actually start opening the door up and start coming into the American market even more. But what Toho did was, after so the Millennial series started, right?
Right.
So everything in the Millennial series, every single movie with the exception of Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, which is the first one where they didn't use versus, then Tokyo SOS, which is the sequel to that movie.
Right.
And those 2 movies go together. But everything else in the Millennial series is a brand new reboot. So they started off with Godzilla 1954 as their base.
Right.
Then you had Godzilla 2000, right? Okay, so that one ended. Then you had a reboot again, Godzilla versus Magirder. I can't think of the name of it.
Magirus.
Magirus. Then after that, you had GMKD, which was Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, All Out Attack. That movie is technically a sequel to Godzilla 1998. In that movie, one of the first scenes from the army was, from the Japanese army was, there was an attack in New York, and the Americans were confused and thought it was Godzilla.
Right.
So
Right.
Toho literally took that away and said, no, that's not Godzilla, that's Zilla.
Right. Right.
That's one of the best ones. You showed the toy off of that one. It's
Yeah.
one of my favorites of all time.
Yeah. And I have almost all of the movies. Almost all of them. I'm missing a couple. So.
Well, there's also Mechagodzilla, like Liz was saying. Mechagodzilla is one of the.
Show off.
Oh, my Mechagodzilla, my little Hisi Mechagodzilla, the one where he's made out of King Ghidorah,
What?
Mecha King Ghidorah. I don't have any batteries.
He's the second. He's the isn't that from part 2, Mechagodzilla 2?
He's even though it technically wasn't a 2, it was a reboot.
Right.
But
yeah.
He's made from King Ghidorah's or Mecha King Ghidorah's parts.
Right. Right. Yeah, the space metal.
The space metal was officially in King Ghidorah. Oh crap!
Godzilla versus.
Godzilla, the first Mega. That's where they came to space titanium. That's what they
Right.
call it.
That's it. So
And
you got all this knowledge. I don't even have to look it up. I can just let you tell me.
Oh, I know. The monkey people, or what are they called? The gorillas.
Oh my God!
When you shot them, it turned into like this whatever. I was like, what is going on here?
It's like, wait a minute. When did Planet of the Apes move into this thing?
Exactly.
Let's see here. Going back a little bit.
Yeah.
Is hearing this.
Nice. Oh man. Godzilla 2000 was actually the very first time in which Godzilla is actually green.
It was a green and purple.
Yeah, a greenish. Yeah. Of course, if you're still watching black and white movies, you can't tell what color they are, anyways.
Exactly.
And some of them you can buy still in black and white, but they did come back and recolor a lot of those.
I honestly can't watch those. I don't like the aesthetics. If it's originally filmed in black and white, let's watch it in black and white.
Yeah, I actually have one that it has no English. There's no English version to it at all. It's a straight Japan movie. Um, I'm trying to think of which one it is too. There was no English, no subtitles, no nothing. And so I had to. Oh wait a minute! It was Godzilla versus uh, Megalodon.
No, you found one with no English, no subtitles.
Yeah,
That's pretty
yeah,
rad. The famous
yeah,
the famous flying uh, the flying
yeah,
drop kick that he did over like a mile long or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
He defied
Um,
physics.
yeah, but that's where Gigan and Megalon were together in that movie.
Gigan and Megalodon are Megadon.
Brothers.
They're brothers.
Megalon. Yes.
And the premise of that movie was actually Godzilla. When they that was the one movie where they made Godzilla a sidekick. Jet Jaguar was,
Jet. Yep.
and how they got Jet Jaguar was they did a contest with kids at the time. They're like, "What do you want to do?" Well, one kid won the contest and he came up with Jet Jaguar,
Hmm.
and they made a movie for him. I want to say they thought it wasn't going to sell or something like that, so they added Godzilla in and made him a sidekick, and they brought in
Yeah.
Godzilla monsters too. So,
And it was
but
a huge success. The movie was fantastic. It's one of
it
my
was,
favorites.
it was great. It was just fun the
Hmm.
entire time. And that was when they finally they got away from the frog look, and they went to
Yeah.
because the frog suit was dead. It was
Mhm.
if you watch Godzilla versus Gigan, you can see pieces of the suit falling
Ripping.
off.
Yep.
And Toho didn't put so much production into that movie because they were on the Godzilla versus Gigan didn't make any money, and they
Right.
knew it wasn't going to make any money. So in that movie, you have Godzilla talking to Anguirus,
Yeah.
and there are parts where you can clearly hear him say, "Hey, Anguirus." I mean, I know they did it in in English. I'm sorry,
Yeah. Yeah. They did it in English. Yeah.
but they would start to bring up the subtitles, and you would see kind of scribbles, and they're like, "Whatever, we don't care. Let's get it out there."
Right. Right. Right.
So
And that was the only movie they did that in. The only movie.
they did it in King Ghidorah, the three-headed monster,
They
but
did.
they had the Mothra twins, the miniature.
Oh yeah.
The Mothra
Yeah.
twins translate for Godzilla. So Mothra, Godzilla, and Rodan all come together, and it's Mothra after Godzilla fought Mothra and lost, or fought the Mothra larva and lost.
Right.
So they all come together, and then they all have their conversation of, saying there's a greater good and to stop fighting between Rodan and Godzilla. So, and that the Monster Zero, which is King Ghidorah, is coming to destroy everything. If you don't fight, if you don't stand together, we're not gonna win.
Right.
And they have this whole thing where the twins are sitting there saying, and they're like, they're going off, and Mothra's trying to get them to team up, and then Godzilla is cussing his ass off, basically. Not cussing his ass off, but it was such harsh language from Godzilla. I loved it. I thought it was so cool. So,
I bought that movie. I haven't seen that movie in forever, but I have it, and I have it original format. In the DVD, I have it original, not opened. I haven't watched it, and I probably won't. I'll probably leave it because it actually cost me quite a few bucks.
if you watch it, watch the American version, because in the Japanese version of that, when you're watching it, Godzilla just awakens and destroys a ship, and they're like, when you're watching that, you're like, okay, how does he become an anti-hero at the end of it? Because he's literally destroying what he's going to eventually protect.
Right.
Well, in the American version of it, which the Japanese did make two movies at the same time with this, or they edited two movies at the same time with this, when he wakes up from the sea, he looks up and he sees Rodan in the sky. He's so enraged by Rodan that he destroys a passenger ship in the process of trying to get to Rodan. So it ties more stuff into it and actually makes more sense. So if you're going to watch that movie, try to watch the American version and then go back and watch the Japanese version, just to see the differences. It's kind of cool.
Well, you could end up easily with 50 movies because of getting the Japanese original movies and then
Oh yeah.
the American movie. I mean, there's plenty of them out there.
We get into with what I did. What my dad did, which is another story on its own, was we taped them. So,
Right.
which is I recognize this one. This is actually Godzilla. Even though I rewrote Godzilla on it, you can't see.
Mm-hmm.
It's blue, and I recognize that's my King Kong versus Godzilla.
Now, what did you think of that movie?
The
original.
The original, I loved it. I actually thought it was fun. I didn't like the suit.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Liked the whole because in that they actually called it was Infant Island, which was what Kong was on. I like that they went to get him. I like how they did things, and they all just kind of met up. Godzilla awoken from his ice tomb, which is what they put him in Godzilla Raids Again.
Right.
And then he's making his way to the mainland. I thought it was cool how they made each monster have their powers. This is the one where
King Kong didn't have any powers.
He had the power to absorb electricity.
Well, yeah, that's right.
So
he
he
did.
was struck with lightning. Godzilla was winning, and also he struck with lightning. Shot with lightning. Godzilla's winning, and also he's struck with lightning because Godzilla was getting ready to barbecue him and eat him. And he's struck with lightning, and he gets up, and he's just wailing on him the entire time.
Right.
They wanted to be nice. The Toho did at the end of it. So instead of just having Godzilla getting his ass handed to him, they just had him fall into the ocean, and then you see the bubbles going out, and then all of a sudden Kong gets up. So there's a rumor there's actually two versions of that movie, which was squashed. There isn't. There's only one.
Right.
But the original, they were saying there was two versions of it where you had Kong get up and walk away, and then if you were in Japan, you had Godzilla get up and walk away. So it was basically like saying they're equal. They're equal in their own rights, you know. So,
well, the reason I brought that up, sorry to interrupt, was because of the new one coming out. Now, there's a lot of rumors that with the new one coming out, that Godzilla and King Kong are going to team up in that movie.
I'm hoping so. I'm hoping that's how they do it. After they made Kong Skull Island, and it's within the Legendary universe because it's Monarch. Mm-hmm. I was hoping that from the start because they kept saying Kong is still growing in that. He's only 100.
Right. He's small. Mm-hmm.
He still won't get to his Godzilla size, but he'll at least be up there.
Right.
The end of Godzilla versus
Skull Island.
King of the Monsters. I'm sorry, King of the Monsters.
Oh, okay.
When you're reading all the news clippings as the credits are playing, and it's not to be a spoiler, but you guys, everyone had their chance to watch this movie. It's been a year and a half now. Mothra dies, but Mothra comes back, and she's meant to be with Godzilla in this one, which is.
I kind of like the love story aspect.
Yeah, there's a love story aspect, which is the first.
Well, they're king and queen of the monsters here.
Yes, the first time they ever did this is this movie where they finally teamed Mothra up with Godzilla. She's always fighting him and everything else.
Right.
But at the end, you're reading the news clippings, and all the monsters are heading to Skull Island. In this one, it's called Skull Island, and that's where they actually explained. They came out and explained, well, why didn't? If you've seen the movie, Ghidorah becomes the alpha. When Ghidorah becomes the alpha because Godzilla is taken out by the Oxygen Destroyer, they finally put it in there, and he heads back down to his where there's his lair where there's radiation.
Oh God.
And Ghidorah becomes the alpha. You know what? That's sad scene when he touches Godzilla and he sets off the nuke.
He touches him.
That's where I cried.
And he just,
Yep. I was gonna ask which part you cried in because that was like one of the most touching parts of the Godzilla series. Period.
We both cried.
It was because he brought out the watch. The watch that was his father's
watch, yeah.
That was stopped when the bomb was dropped on Hiroshima.
Yeah.
and he looked down at it, and he said something old friend. I can't remember the entire line, but he said something old friend, and he touches him, and then the bomb goes off and supercharges Godzilla.
My dad cried.
Oh.
We went with my dad too, because me and my dad used to watch Godzilla movies as well, and even my dad was crying. All three of us are sitting there sniffling, like.
They did such a great job with that movie. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But they, when you're reading the credits on it, they're all heading to Skull Island.
Yeah.
And the one thing they actually said was, well, why didn't Kong come to Ghidorah's call? Because Kong is too intelligent. That's exactly what they said. He had no cares to what was going on in the rest of the world. He was staying right there in Skull Island.
Yeah.
So
There's a question for you. What's your view on the Rebirth of Mothra trilogy?
I have never. So sorry. I've never seen the Mothra Rebirth trilogy. I never
really.
I know they delve into the nemesis is Ghidorah, but it's Ghidorah through the ages. So yeah.
Yeah. All the so what was the actual question? Where is it? Is it on the feed?
It's pinned now. It's
It's
pinned
what?
on the feed.
I'm so far behind here.
It's what is
Okay, another question for Frank. What is your view on the Rebirth of Mothra trilogy? I know for myself, I like Mothra. And when they did the whole thing that Mothra and Godzilla were an item, they did that in a couple movies. One was the new Godzilla, King of the Monsters, and then if you look back when Mothra, actually it was the same movie, I think. And I have to remember myself. No, I think it was that movie where she gets killed, and falls down on him and disintegrates. Her energy goes into Godzilla. Yeah.
That was Rodan.
Oh, that was Rodan.
I'm
Rodan dies. Or doesn't die. Rodan gets stuck by Mothra.
Abs Rodan?
That's Godzilla. That's King of the Monsters.
Yes, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
She stabs Rodan. Doesn't kill him.
Right. She stabs him, but she dies.
Yes.
By Ghidorah.
Right, and then she goes over, and she just kind of sprinkles all over Godzilla. Her essence.
It was all no.
Yeah. But there's so many. Go ahead.
That's when you get another version of Burning Godzilla, because he was melting down in that movie too.
Mm-hmm.
King of the Monsters, and every single time he did his pulse, I guess is what they call it, because they kind of took from the other movies and put it together.
Mm-hmm.
And they did a whole bunch of Easter eggs in it, which was freaking phenomenal.
Baphomet.
He did his pulse, and every time he did his pulse, it was Mothra's roar. It was Mothra coming out, basically Mothra destroying Ghidorah through Godzilla. I loved it.
The entire movie, he's hitting me with the burning Godzilla part. Babe, he's gonna explode. Babe, this is gonna be awesome. He's gonna explode. And I'm like, shut up!
I thought it was cool. I was like, okay, if he dies, they're gonna introduce Junior. That he's gonna be the next Godzilla. There's gonna be another Godzilla that comes up and it's Junior. I was like, this is gonna be great.
He was like, they're gonna kill him. He's there. They're gonna kill him. I'm like, oh my god.
Let's see. Nick has put down here. He goes, trivia fact about Godzilla versus Gigan. It was originally supposed to be called the Return of King Ghidorah with Gigan and another monster called Mogu that were the sidekicks with King Ghidorah as the main focus fighting Godzilla, Rodan, and Varian. So it was supposed to be a bigger fight, and the Godzilla Tower was also originally not supposed to be an alien base. It was originally constructed by humans to pay respect. However, the script was changed. Varian was removed due to the fact that they would, wouldn't let me read any more of it there, Nick. So whatever you wrote after that, it stops. So you need to finish what you were saying.
I do vaguely remember that. I'm sorry. That was another thing. Wow. They were going to do stuff like that. It's just the issue with Toho is they come out and are like, okay, this is going to make us money. How are we going to do this? Whereas you have, okay, I mean, clearly now in these days you have, American cinema. They're like, okay, what's going to make us money? Okay, this is going to make us money. We're going to do this, right? Well, back in the glory days, I mean, us all being fans of movies and stuff like that, they kind of just made stuff.
Right.
And stuck. If it didn't, it didn't.
Right.
Well, Toho started doing a lot of that stuff. They're like, well, we don't think Baron's a big popular creature, so we're not going to put him in these movies. So that's what they started doing, and they're like, okay, well, what was a popular creature? Gigan was popular. Ghidorah was popular. And even though going back to Destroy All Monsters was supposed to be the last movie in the Showa series, but they kept going, and it technically should have been, even though we did get some good movies out, like with Mechagodzilla and Godzilla versus Megalon, and then Godzilla versus the Smog Monster. But
excuse me,
I'm sorry, but
no.
Godzilla versus Gigan I liked it. I thought it was fun, but you can clearly tell they didn't put anything into it.
Yeah, they didn't.
They came in there with a very torn down suit. They didn't even put. They were like, okay, we're done with it. Whatever, just get it out there. They tried to come back and say, oh, well, the pieces come off the suit. Well, that's where he's being attacked. It's like, no, that's where you put the explosives, the little firecrackers that were actually blowing off chunks of styrofoam. And you can clearly see that in there. So Toho had the big issue. Like I said, they didn't, if it wasn't going to make the money, they didn't put it in there. They just let it go. So.
Right. And the Americans, I mean, the Americans, the American movie industry with the Godzilla. I mean, we've all heard the story. I mean, I'm sure if you're reading up on this stuff, if the Godzilla versus King Kong does not go, they're done. They're not going to make any more. That's what they've stated. But you also hear rumors that they're saying that they want to continue the series with other monsters. They want to do a remake of like Destroy All Monsters or what is it, the Monster Island with all the creatures. So there's a lot of rumors about what they're going to do, but obviously the American movie industry, they're buying whatever monsters they can or getting the rights from Toho to create new movies with these monsters. So they're reaching out for whatever monster. So they've already got, King Ghidorah. They've already got, who did they have it? They had the giant spider. They have
Mando,
the Megalodon, or what is it? A Megalodon? What is that thing?
Spider was Baphomet.
No, the spider was not that. The spider was I forgot her name. It's a female.
Right.
Oh. But they did get the rights to her. They did change the name, but they did. So starting with 2014, it's an Easter egg, but they did get the rights to her. Was Manda, the sea dragon?
That's right. Yep.
When you see the Mudos making their nest, and then I can't think of the actress. He played Quicksilver in Age of Ultron, but I can't think of his name. He went down to destroy the Muto's nest, and he opens up the tank of a fuel from a fuel tanker that caved down in there too, and it starts filling up it was in Chinatown in San Francisco, and starts filling up what looks like a Chinese dragon. It's Manda. They got the rights to Manda to have her as an Easter egg, and that's how they start things. They do Easter eggs with them and that stuff. They put her down there. Then the next thing they actually had, the other Easter eggs they had was Mothra at the start of the movie, when when his character as a kid was in class in Japan. They showed Mothra, the Mothra they use now in the movie. The next Easter egg they used was in Kong Skull Island, which was Godzilla, the cave paintings, Godzilla fighting Ghidorah, and then they also showed Rodan. I think they acquired the rights. They acquired the rights to Rodan right after all that stuff. So they acquired the rights to that. They acquired the rights to They did acquire the rights to Mechagodzilla. I want to say, what else did they acquire the rights to? Oh, I can't think right now. But I know Mechagodzilla is one of the ones they did get the rights to.
Right, and I know they wanted to make a new one though of the Mechagodzilla versus Godzilla. They do want to make a new one, but I mean, this is all rumors, of course, but that's one of the things they were talking about. But they did have all the other monsters that bowed down to Godzilla at the end of King of Godzilla, or King of the Monsters.
All, with the exception of Rodan, those are all brand new monsters that Legendary made themselves. So that's their universe.
Right.
They can keep going with those. They had Methuselah, they had Baphomet, they had...
well, a lot of them are from the comic books, like Godzilla Goes to Hell.
They did, IDW.
That's where Baphomet was from.
Baphomet, I don't think they ever showed them, did
They did
I don't think they did.
They did actually at the very end. At the very end, I was really stoked about it. And they showed him at the very end. Did you see the one that kind of looked like it had a Cthulhu face?
Oh, that's right. They had the tentacles and all that stuff. But
it was like a spider almost with Cthulhu face.
Yeah.
That was Baphomet.
You mean the one that looked like it was from the Pacific Rim?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Methuselah was the big mountain.
Methuselah, yeah, they showed Methuselah is supposed to be the oldest in that series.
But they didn't say anything about Dagon, who's actually...
Dagon is
Godzilla's dad.
Well, not Godzilla's dad, but Dagon was the... So when a Godzilla, in that series, when a Godzilla comes up, he fights, he defends the Earth. Then he dies, and another Godzilla is woken up. And that's what Dagon was, which Dagon is a god from H.P. Lovecraft. They're paying homage to with that, too. Somebody coming from the deep. Dagon, and that was killed by the Muto Prime.
Muto Primes are so cool looking.
What Legendary did was, in between each movie, they released a comic book. They followed the suit with Universal and how they did with the Transformers. So, because in Transformers, you're like, I'm watching these movies, they're terrible, but they're good, but I don't know what the hell's going on here. You have to get the comic books.
Started on Transformers.
You have to get the comic books that came out prior to the movie to understand why Bumblebee is doing what he's doing, or what Prime is doing what he's doing.
What Prime actually killed Sentinel.
They had in that, so they had the reason why Godzilla's spine changed, and he kind of he got bigger from the nuclear blast from Ken Watanabe's character, but his spine's changed because the Muto Prime, who killed, I guess you would say his father, Dagon, came back away, got awoken up in between 2014 and 2019, and destroyed his spines with some sort of blast, and he was able to kill him by projecting his blast out of his back. And through that time, when he was sleeping for a few years again, his spines grew back into what we know as Godzilla's spines, how they kind of look. They look jagged and all that stuff in the new movie, and that's how they explained all that stuff. So it's comic books that I actually want to get a hold of. So
yeah, the Dagons that they show. I mean, I'm kind of looking at some of the pictures. I wanted to see about bringing one up.
Dagon looked cool. He was kind of like, I think he's lighter in the chest, colors and stuff like that, but it was cooler looking, like the way they did it.
The one from Lovecraft, right?
Oh, Dagon, yeah.
Oh, the Lovecraftian Dagon is different.
It's different, but
yeah, he's got kind of a fish face.
Yeah.
But they did pay homage. Like I said, they paid homage to him by calling Godzilla's father Dagon. So.
Yeah, because there's a bunch of different pictures of what Dagon is supposed to look like.
Yeah.
See, I'm the comic book nerd, so like I've read a lot of the like weird Godzilla comics.
Yeah.
See, I've never read a Godzilla comic, never seen a Godzilla comic.
Oh, they're
I'll
so
have to send
rad.
you Godzilla Goes to Hell.
There's Godzilla Goes to Hell. There's the
Which is my favorite, obviously.
There's the IDW comics, where they did an entire series on what was obviously, I think it was aliens coming in, and they used the the Wolf Godzilla, the Millennial Godzilla, to be the main Godzilla. They even gave Zilla his time in the light, where he was a badass. And they made I think when we were talking before, you were like saying Space Godzilla is your least favorite, but they made Space Godzilla be a badass. So that's another conversation right there on its own. That where Space Godzilla actually is Super Godzilla, but they wanted to introduce him into the movies. Super Godzilla being the video game on Super Nintendo, they made him to Super Nintendo. Yeah, the main nemesis on it is Bagon, a giant dragon from Chinese dragon that came back and starts destroying everything. Well, Godzilla can't take him out. He's way too small, way too weak. But at the end of it, in order to beat him, he becomes Super Godzilla. So he gets the spikes on the side, which in Space Godzilla made in crystals, but his arms come out like this. He gets bigger. He gets a new chest piece or a crystal in his chest, I think, and he has a crystal or a piece on his tail, and he's able to project his blast out of his chest. And they brought that over into the Heisei series. They tried to make a movie with bringing. I do know they with the Mothra series, the Rebirth of Mothra, they wanted to bring Bagon into it, but they never did. So they have a whole inner web of stuff that they were like, we're almost going to do this, but we're not going to do this, but we're going to do this.
Looks like there's a ton of books too.
Oh, ton of comic books, ton of graphic novels. The Japanese, they did a lot of Japanese mangas on it, a lot of them. So, and they're really, really fun to read if you ever can get a hold of them.
Godzilla Aftershock?
Was that the IDW? I think that's the IDW one. I could be wrong. Is that what you're looking at?
Yeah, it's a it looks hardcover author Arvid Nelson. I don't know, it's $25, I can tell you that.
Yeah. Wow. I remember seeing when they first came out, it was only like a couple bucks.
There's a Marvel comic for Godzilla 19, I guess.
Marvel comic, Godzilla was the biggest Godzilla. And that's where he looked most like a dinosaur.
Yeah, I see this, yeah. I mean, it's only
$8. Back shooting fire and not atomic blast.
Yeah. See, now I'm going to have to start buying comic books just to put in display cases.
They're really good reads. They really are. If you're into it, read them. Go out and support them.
Godzilla by Max Borenstein.
I think one of the most obscure things I ever saw, I was just walking through a store at one time. I was like probably like 17, 18. I saw the book version of Godzilla. I think it was 1985. And I was like, what are we going to read here? It was actually the novelization version. I was like, I'm actually going to read how he's stomping around and throwing his breath out. I was like, I'd rather just see this. But I mean, if you could ever find stuff like that, it's going to be worth money.
Yeah. I'm going to put a down here in the bottom of the stream. Hey, Chris. If you guys want to check it out, this is actually the showcase to where you can, if I put it in the private chat for you.
Here. I'll save it.
Oh, okay. All right.
It
actually gives you all of, well, I'll put it in the private chat too, just in case you can't click it. But it gives you all of the Godzilla stuff from what's the most expensive, what's worth more, as in pieces of Godzilla. All of their stuff. It's the collectible world. The worldwide source of Godzilla collectibles. It gives you an idea of how much the pieces are going for and stuff like that. So I was going to ask you because of all of this with all the monsters, like including Godzilla, Gamera. Now I would love to see Gamera come out and be with Godzilla and partner up as well. I love Gamera. What do you think?
That's actually one of my what I've always wanted to see was that. The only time we ever got a snippet of that was they did the Gamera.
I love Gamera.
I mean, it was a little far-fetched that he flew with flames coming out of where his legs were, but you know, it was.
He was still, even though like it was. So the original series of Gamera, like I didn't like,
Right.
even though I watched the hell out of it.
Mm-hmm.
There's only a few movies. They finally explained what he was in it starts with a D series, but they only made 3 movies. It was basically from 1995, and then the last one came out like 2001, 2002.
Right.
They explained that he was a guardian of the Earth from the Atlanteans. He's from Atlantis. But going back, they only made the only thing that Godzilla him and ever appeared was they did a Gamera Superstars or whatever it was called. I had it on. I recorded it from TV. Another thing my dad recorded for me, which I'll tell a story of all that stuff too. It was when he's stomping through. Gamera's being controlled by aliens. When he's stomping through a city, he steps down by a theater, and there's a poster board of Godzilla, and it falls over. And that was it. They've made mention of it many times to have Godzilla and Gamera team up. They even did some guy even did a YouTube video of it, sizing them up and Godzilla's power versus his power and stuff like that. And you could tell who won from it because the guy was a huge Godzilla fan. He ends up killing Gamera. I saw it randomly on YouTube. He did a good job with the CG, but it was just one-sided the entire time, and it was like, okay, that's just how it's supposed to be. But yeah, I would love to see a Godzilla versus Gamera. I would love. Yeah. I honestly, I would. One of the things I was wishing for from Legendary was that they would actually acquire the rights to Gamera. And for a second there, when I saw Methuselah being this gigantic mountain that just came to wake, I was like, oh, good, they finally did. And I read up on it, and they didn't acquire the rights to it. They just made their own version. They made their own thing. I was like, okay, this is never going to happen. So, yeah, I enjoyed Gamera, the new series, very, very, very much because they got pretty graphic. Not as in like they got graphic with violence in it, and they had Gamera getting tore up. They had a Gamera, I think the first one's called Gamera Defender of Earth or Gamera Protector of Earth or something like that. And he's fighting the Gauss, which is the main enemy from the first original. They're giant bat creatures. Mm-hmm. Second one is Gamera versus Legion. And that one is messed up because they literally show Legion just tearing chunks of his shell off and blood and everything everywhere. And it's like, oh my God. The next one is Gamera, versus Isis, or it's supposed to be the goddess of the Gauss. And he gets impaled by her. The whole premise of that is so with every Gamera that awakens, there is a child who gives him power, or a person who gives him power. So throughout the two movies, there's a girl who is psychically connected to Gamera, and she is his basis. She gives him power. In the third one, the goddess Isis has her version of it, and she is someone her family was killed by Gamera while he was fighting Gauss. He slammed into a building. She survived, kills her parents, and she hates Gamera the entire time. Isis clings on to her and basically takes her into herself. And Gamera sacrifices his hand to save her at the end of it. But it also, in that dream sequence, that's where they came up with the idea of a ghost Godzilla and a nightmare Gamera. They actually showed him with like jagged like scales and stuff like that because he was scaring her and wanted to murder her. That's why she saw him. It was a big departure from the original kid series. Gamera, because the
Hmm.
original series, if you ever watch it on YouTube or if you watch it on Mystery Science Theater 3000, it's one of the funnest things to watch it on any Godzilla movie. If you want, they have Godzilla versus Megalodon. Sorry, on Mystery Science Theater 3000. Watch it; it's hilarious. um, everything was based around kids and being nice and all this stuff. But when they came back in the '90s with him, they made him a badass. They actually really did a good job. So, but I like I said, I would love to see it like you. I would love to see Gamera and Godzilla together.
Yeah, yeah, I would too. I mean, I just think it would be really cool because there are so many monsters that I really think they should think about bringing these monsters back. Gigan, Gamera, um, all of them. Just because I don't. I would like to see the series continue. I mean, they've done all these things with the superheroes with Marvel and DC and stuff, but what about this stuff? The monsters are a great way to go, and to especially introduce the younger generation to Godzilla and the monsters. I mean,
Yeah.
why not? I mean, Biollante wasn't one of my favorites. Um, it was okay. Hodora, um, Tyrannosaurus, or Titanosaurus. Yeah,
Dinosaurs.
yes. Um, so, I mean, I don't know. I would like to see some of these monsters come back. If they would do it, it would be fun to see.
I would like to see. I mean, I would like to see all them bring the monsters out there. I think the issue is that they just won't release the rights to them.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
King Caesar was one of my favorites. I thought he was awesome.
oh, the dog, the, the dog god who guards everything is what it is.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
supposed to be a dog.
Yeah, well, he sort of looked like a dog.
Yeah.
Sort of. But,
Oh, it was
he
great.
was awesome. And I'd like to see more like that. Now it's like the Space Godzilla. I wasn't a fan of him, and it was because of the way he looked, you
Yeah,
know. But it was a good movie,
it was a fun movie. The premise of it was weird because
right?
they took the idea of like I said, Super Godzilla, but they were like, okay, well, what happens when so the Heisei series did Godzilla versus Mothra. They did a reboot of this of Godzilla versus Mothra. At the end of it, Mothra heads to space.
Yeah,
So then, at the end of Godzilla versus Biollante, parts of it head out to space because it's destroyed. So they, oh, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead and read it because
Make Godzilla versus Gamera. That Gamera would win.
but Toho refused.
Oh, so that's why they didn't do it.
Yeah,
They did it on the conditions that Gamera would win.
right.
Yeah. They only had Godzilla lose 2 times, and that was it. And the second time was technically he didn't lose.
Right, right,
Um,
right.
Biollante, parts of it went out to space. She went out to space. Um, that was the weird premise of it because Space Godzilla was a combination of G cells, Mothra, and Biollante all combined into one, and it came back.
Yeah,
So and they just made. Then they changed his powers from just being a badass, just destroying everything with his blast or anything like that. They turned into the whole gravity beam thing. The one thing that the one character that had gravity beams in the original one was King Ghidorah.
right,
That's what his beams were.
right.
So people didn't really like it too much. They didn't get on there with it. And the next movie after that was the last movie in the Heisei series, which was Godzilla versus Destroyer.
Right. Well, see, I'm still a fan of like there's always that discussion too of where Godzilla is supposed to be, whether he's a hero, a good guy, protector of Earth and, Tokyo and all that stuff, or is he a bad guy? He really doesn't, he hates the Americans or they hate the Chinese people and all that because of creating him. And I myself, I love Godzilla either way. Doesn't matter whether he's a bad guy or a good guy. The fact that it's Godzilla,
Exactly.
that's it, and it's awesome. What's this down here? Hey, just stop by to say hey and to say something random. The other day I saw a huge cloud that looked like Godzilla, and I wish I would have gotten a picture, but didn't.
I didn't-
Oh, there was. She had a. I'll put it up here for you. Cassie Swick said she's just stopped by to say hey and said something random. The other day I saw a huge cloud that looked like Godzilla. I wish I would
Oh,
have taken a picture of it. That's cool.
there's so many pictures of that. Look at Godzilla in the
Yeah,
sky.
yeah. You know, I before we got to get to your story, but especially since I'm sweating my ass off here, I turned my fan down so that we could talk.
Oh, turn
Um,
my fans off too. I just have my AC going right here.
yeah, yeah. I didn't want to be too loud in the fan. I mean, that just makes so much noise. But anyways,
Back here eating
um,
cookies.
huh?
I'm just back here eating cookies.
Not the special
Yeah.
kind either. Just
Just cookies.
just
legit
regular cookies.
There you go. There's a movie for you, The Cookie Monster versus Godzilla. Anyways, uh, where the hell was I going? Oh, I want to talk about the movie that I am not. I love Godzilla, but this movie, I know the point of the movie, and I put a post out about it, and I'll bet you out of 100 comments I got, the majority of them said the same thing. That was the point of the movie. Shin Godzilla.
The
I'm not a fan of the way he looks. I don't like the big googly eyes. I don't like the. It just looked so absurd. The new one made him look very, very grotesque, and he didn't look like Godzilla to me.
It was who they got to direct it. They the guy who did Evangelion. I know I'm pronouncing it wrong. That is another psychedelic anime, which I do like. I just hated the weird psychedelic ending because they went into this whole reality was destroyed, and it's just him and the chick. But it's another discussion. He also directed Attack on Titan, the live version, the live action version of it, and I he took from the premise of that giants were supposed to be like in Attack on Titan, giants are supposed to be grotesque. They're supposed to be just monsters, you know. So and then he went back and said, well, the original Godzilla was terrifying, so we're gonna do that, and that's why they gave him the hands like this. They gave him the googly eyes, and through the different progressions of his evolution, they gave him different roars. The last roar they gave him, which again is my favorite one, is from 1985. That was the last one they gave him. But the whole premise of that movie has another meaning, which was the same thing as the first Godzilla. The first Godzilla was, do not use nuclear power. Look what it did to our people.
Right.
So we're protesting this with this movie. And this one was, we are protesting bureaucracy. Not to get political, but that's what it was. Because
Right.
prior to Shin Godzilla coming out, Fukushima happened. And one of the things that the Japanese public had a problem with was the response time. And it was because they had to go through the avenues of being respectful. They had to do this and that. And you see it in the movie. And that's the reason why they focus so much on that.
Right, because it took too long to do anything over there.
The one thing, the army could have stopped him from the start, but they didn't because there was one or two citizens there. And they ended up making a problem bigger because they wouldn't fire on him from the start. And that was the one thing they were saying in the movie was like, hey, look at our problem we're having right now in our society. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to go into any
That's
of that
okay.
stuff. It's
That's
just
okay.
that was the premise of the movie, you know.
Right.
That was
Right.
what was going on in it.
The movie was very politically charged.
It was very, very politically charged for the Japanese people, but for us, it's like, oh, hey, this is a fun movie to watch, you know.
Right.
And
But it was making a point.
They're not making another Shin Godzilla. That's the end of it. It got shut down.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, no.
And that's okay though. I mean, to me that's fine because I thought they took Godzilla to an absurd way. I mean, the what do you want to call them? The lasers coming out of his scales and the tail. I mean, Godzilla wasn't like that. Godzilla was never like that.
that was the premise, is that they could have, like I said, they could have stopped him, but because they didn't stop him, because they had to go through the bureaucracy, because they could have killed him with Apache helicopters. They could have killed him right there.
Mm-hmm.
But because they didn't stop him when they did, they went along with the bureaucracy and trying to be respectful with the elders in their government and all this other stuff, and they had to go through different avenues. He became that. He became so much more that there was no way they could handle him. Not with stealth bombers from us, not with anything else, because he was actually able to track that. He was actually able to feel the magnetic, just whatever it was in the air, and see where they were and just kill them on the spot. And that's one of the reasons. Like, it's one of my favorite movies because it actually shows that's another era of man. Is because we could act when we need to act, but we don't.
Right.
We hold back, and then they just keep going on, and it's a problem gets worse and worse and worse.
Well, that whole line, I can't remember how the line goes, but the sacrifice of one to save many, and that's basically what you're talking about. Is when they could have killed him, there was what, two people, three people on the street right there, an old, a couple people, old people. They should have just sucked it up and said the death of one or two or three versus the death of many, and they should have killed him.
Exactly. I do get the logic behind it, well, this is a new being. We don't know where he's going to go from this. He could just keep staying in the state. So let's just let him burn out, But at the same time, it was like they did show the error of their ways, because it's like, oh crap, he became a god.
Yeah. But his face was so, like, I'm trying to place what he looked like in the face. He just looked like a skeleton. Like a demon. He was just so disgusting, and
he was a god incarnate. He was literally
he was something.
For me, if we saw something like that in real life, if we actually saw what, I don't know, people, whatever. I'm not religious either, but whatever you believe in, if you bring a god down, what would he look like? I mean, we want to say in our head, hey, he looks beautiful, she looks beautiful, but beauty is something completely different,
Right.
It's subjective. It's if he came down, literally, like the whole logic of Superman. Superman holds back because he is a god in real life. If he moved his finger wrong, he would kill thousands if he could. And not if he could, but it could happen.
Right.
Yes, hold back. Well, this is a god incarnate that doesn't have to hold back the way he looks. Doesn't have to do any of that stuff. He literally just walking through and doesn't acknowledge us in any way, shape, or form. It's not like in the E60. So in the Showa series, he's what happens when man uses weapons that he shouldn't use. In the Heisei series, he's nature. In the Millennial series, it's paying respect to your elders. In this one, he doesn't care what we are because he is a god. He is coming here, he's here, and he's destroying everything.
Right. Right. Well, you know what? But on the googly eye fact, though, they could have put freaking eyelids on him or something.
They could have, but he was also from the deep. There's no eyelid.
Yeah, I know, but still, they could have done something different. But all right, so let's shift gears here because we're gonna run over the 2-hour mark anyways, which is fine. But let's shift gears to
My dad real fast. My dad's on. Hi, Dad.
My God.
Let's shift gears and talk about your story with you and your dad, and how you got into Godzilla.
So, in the 80s, my parents would buy. We lived on a farm. There was nothing to do up there besides, be on the farm.
Mm-hmm.
Which I did when I was a kid. I hated it because I couldn't be with my friends. I couldn't be with them because I lived 45 minutes away from everyone.
Right.
Mind you, right now, the city actually moved closer to my farm, and I grew up on. The farm's gone now. It's just all orchards. But at the time, in the 80s and the 90s, everything was away. And what my dad would do was he loved these movies because they would come on Sunday mornings, not Saturdays. They would come on Sundays. And me being a kid, he's all, well, he's probably gonna like them. So he started recording it, which is one of the ones my dad recorded right here. He did this for me, which is Kong versus Godzilla. It was one of the first ones he ever recorded. And he's like, here, start watching these. And I started watching them. I started just every time every Sunday, not every Sunday, but it was every couple Sundays. There was a new one he would record for me. I would be outside playing. He was like, here you go. He thought it was the funniest thing that he would take a VCR, hook it in through the antenna and all that stuff, and record whatever was on TV. He also did the whole thing because he wanted to make it more like a movie for me and not TV. So he would record, commercials come on, stop, and then start it right back up again when the commercials were over with. So I would get a movie that had parts recorded, and then all of a sudden when it came to a certain thing, it looked like it was cut off because he didn't catch the timing right, you know?
Right.
And then he would be like, here you go. Hey, new Godzilla movie came out. Here you go, watch it. It went from there to with Gamera and whatever other stuff came on. It went to anime. Like, so hey, check this out. You need to watch this. And I mean, if you've seen the picture of my dad, like you're like, oh, he's not in that stuff. He's not, but he loved cartoons. He loved watching that stuff.
SpongeBob.
Right.
He loved SpongeBob.
He loves
He loved watching SpongeBob. Even to the
Me and him would sit there and watch it all day.
yeah. He loved it. He freaking loved it. And one of the episodes he loved was the Pantera episode, which has like Phil Anselmo from Pantera and all them singing and everything like that. It was pretty cool. It went from there to when the E60 series came out. I just happened to be at Hollywood Video. The E60 series came out in America in 90. I want to say 97. They were already a couple movies in. I mean, the E60 series started with Godzilla 1985, went to Godzilla Violante, and then on from there until Godzilla vs. Destroyer. There's another thing that I'll talk about in a second with that, but I was able to actually find Godzilla movies and say, hey, Dad, you want to watch this? And he's like, yeah, let's watch this. We went from there. We watched Godzilla movies all the time together, all the time. We ended up, I was able to show him Shin Godzilla. We watched that. And then we watched Godzilla, prior to that, we watched Godzilla 2014. I wasn't able to watch the Netflix Godzilla with him because he had this big thing against the internet. He was old school. He was born in,
It was really funny.
he was born in, was it 46?
44.
44, I'm sorry. So he was very much a boomer and didn't like technology. Everything he did was cash. Everything was cash. He hid cash everywhere. I mean, the old farmhouse we moved out, my mom and me were like moving out. Like I was in my 20s and like I was like, Mom, what's that lump in the hallway? And my dad goes, oh, goes over there. He had $6 or $7 grand hidden under a carpet in the hallway. That lump was there for a good 10 years. But he would do stuff like that. So we were able to see Godzilla 2014 together. I went and saw Godzilla 2019, and in June of last year, he died. And I wasn't able to show it to him. So because of this, he was able to teach me how to cope with things because I had a weird childhood, not so good childhood. Not to get emotional here.
That's okay.
My parents were good parents. They took care of me left and right. I had issues with my neighbors where there was molestation. These movies, when all that stuff came out, basically had a coping mechanism for me. They made it so I was able to feel like I was in control. They were therapy. He caught on to all that stuff because he was there the entire time, and he almost murdered the neighbor's kids. But that's another thing. It was tough, and he was just always there with this stuff. He was like, hey, watch this, do this. I went around my farm thinking I was Godzilla because I felt strong watching this stuff. I felt
Right.
like I was something else. So yeah, and that's basically the sad story behind all this stuff. And to this day, I try my hardest to find this stuff and try my hardest to look at this stuff because of him. So
It was like you said, it was a way to cope. It was a way to get yourself away from it.
yeah, it was. It was just. It was a weird time. It was a terrible time. I'm sorry, not to say it was a weird time, but it was a. And when it came time for me to like show him stuff, like the last thing, like I said, the last thing I showed him was Shin Godzilla, and I have that put up. And went to go, like I said, went to go show him. We went to go see Godzilla 2019. I saw it twice. I came back and I was waiting for the movie to come out, and all of a sudden came home one night and he's having a massive heart attack, and that was the end of it. And one of my biggest regrets is not taking him to the theaters to show it to him. So, it's sad. But it is what it is. It's different.
Well, but it means something to you. I mean,
Yeah.
I can understand what you went through too. I had 2 incidences in my life as a child, and but anyways, mine was John Wayne movies with my father.
John Wayne.
And so now I own every movie John Wayne ever filmed. And I have a wall full of John Wayne pictures from all different movies. And unfortunately, Godzilla was not in my life then. I watched the movies and I loved them, but it wasn't my focus. My focus was more of John Wayne and the Western movies and all that stuff. And so I understand, I'm now that I'm older and I have responsibilities of taking care of my parents and other things. This is the time where I feel like I'm starting to live a little differently than before, where I'm able to actually do the things that I wanted to do, like collecting Godzilla and getting all the movies, and saying, you know what, I am a big fucking kid. I love this stuff when I was a kid, and I love bringing it back in my life now. It makes me happy. And that's important.
No, exactly. It's still very much therapy to watch this stuff. It's still very much like I tried to go. I got put into the state ran therapy here in California to do things, and it didn't. I knew it was. I was a kid. I was like, second or third grade, and I knew in my head I was like, this isn't working. I was like, I don't know what to do here. I was like, I knew it wasn't working. So like I said, my dad was like, here's these movies, watch them, get immersed in it. And I learned how to cope because of it. I learned how to get away from this stuff, and I learned how to face my demons.
Right.
I learned how to face what happened to me. And because of what he did, I still have some flashbacks here and there, but they're not like the whole, cowering panic attacks or anything like that. He gave me a tool to help me.
Right.
And another thing too, like when I grew up, I moved out for the first time, and my dad said, hey, I come over for Christmas. I got something for you. And I was always talking about rebuilding the car with him because he was a farm mechanic. And I was like, hey, I really want to rebuild a 67 Camaro, put a 327 in it. And I was like, he kept saying, hey, come over for Christmas. My mom was insisting on coming over for Christmas. And I come over for Christmas. I already planned to. I already knew what I was going to do because it's my parents' house. And I go over to the farmhouse where I'm growing. I was like, looking around, I was like, there's no Camaro out back. There's no old muscle car to rebuild. And all of a sudden, my dad's like, hey, come outside. And I was like, okay. So I go outside, and at the time, I'm 22, 23, and I'm having a beer and stuff like that. And And I go out there with a beer in my hand, and my dad opens up his truck tailgate. I want to say it was 2002 because it's the truck that I have now. And there's a whole set of tools laid out there. And he's all, here you go, have them. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. My mom turned around and goes, your dad spent a lot of money. He spent a few grand on tools for me. Flash forward to, it was like 2011. I had an old Isuzu rodeo. I'm working on it. I'm taking out the timing belt. I'm taking all their stuff. And the position I'm in right now, I work in auto parts. I've had a job there for 15 years. And at the time it was like 12 years. I'm sitting there going, turning a wrench, and I look at it and I was like, I got teary-eyed, and I go, this man saved me thousands of dollars because he gave me a tool set for Christmas.
Yeah.
It's just what he did.
Right.
He knew how to like teach me through just saying, here, go out and do. Here, watch these videos.
Right.
Be yourself. You know,
Right.
Not once did he ever tell me to become a certain religion or whatnot. He did offer me $500 to cut my hair once, and I said no. But and he was serious. He would have given me $500 at the time. I was like, nah, I'm good. But I think he was more proud of the fact that I didn't compromise. He was just that way. It was very agnostic. He didn't believe in a higher power, but he believed in aliens and all their stuff, and that's just the man he was.
Ancient aliens.
Ancient aliens. He loved ancient aliens.
Well, I can tell you that sitting back listening to your story, I'm kind of envious of you, because I have a father that wasn't like that.
Yeah.
And military, 22 years, very hard man. Right now, taking care of him, it's very trying for me.
Yeah.
When you're never told you're loved, or hugging was, you couldn't hug, you couldn't do any of that stuff. It wasn't allowed.
Yeah.
And it's very tough. So when you have at least that, you had something. Like here I fight every day. Yes, my dad is still here, but the trials and tribulations of going through all this, I'm learning that slowly now, that he does care, that he does love me. But back then, I felt like my whole childhood growing up, teen years and stuff, I never thought he did. And it was very, very tough on me. I mean, my brothers as well. I have a brother right now that runs away from everything. He's been married 6 times.
Oh, wow.
I have a sister that's going through a lot of stuff. I have another brother that pretty much doesn't care about anything. And it stems from home. So at least with you, I can say your dad showed that he loved you. You know what I mean? That he pushed you, he loved you, he wanted you to be better. He encouraged you. He wanted you to be a better man. It was all of that stuff. Where here it's been for me. I mean, I'm just now finding certain things. I mean, let me just tell you really quick. I brought in 2 big ass dumpsters when I moved in here because my parents are hoarders and I wanted to get rid of stuff. It cost me over $700 to bring these things in here. I used my money from my stimulus package.
Oh, wow.
And I used that money, and I came in and we cleaned this stuff out. And the anger, the fear that I was throwing out stuff of his, you know what I mean? And we were actually throwing away garbage and toys from us kids and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
I kept the Godzilla stuff, of course, but it's so my understanding to you is like I'm so thankful your dad did what he did for you. It makes you a better person, a better man, a better everything, and you got a very supporting wife as well. And
Yeah, she's awesome.
you now, you now have I don't know. It's kind of like you have something that can flower for the rest of your life. You have something that you can look back with that empowers you,
Yeah.
from your dad, which is great. I'm slowly learning certain things, but there are things in my past that it's going to be very tough. And I've asked myself, how am I going to feel when he passes? And I don't know, and I hope that it's not a certain way. That's all I can explain. You know what I mean? But
No, I.
but my mom has been like almost my best friend at times because believe it or not, I live in a small little town. There's not a lot of people like me, and being a gay man is very, very tough in a situation like this.
Oh
And
no.
growing up that way
Exactly.
is very tough.
It is very.
But I've been single for almost 20 years. And the
Oh, wow.
reasoning is because there is nothing out here like that for me. I've had to, it took me a long time to even come out, to friends and to other things. I mean, my family knew, yes, but there's just been so much in my life that has been weird or
Come to
traumatic or
California.
whatever.
I
But
got a friend I can hook you up with right now. He's a bear.
I'm a bear, two bears in the same,
He was in
two
the
bears in the same cave.
For a little while, actually.
What? What?
He was in the chat for a little while.
His name is Jake.
Oh, he
He's
was the one making all the funny comments.
Yes.
So the story behind Jake, back in high
Jake's
school.
amazing.
Back in high school, I got a love letter from him, and I'm straight, obviously. But at the time, he thought I was going to be not caring for him or something like that, or thinking I was going to be. The minute he gave me the love letter, unreceptive. There you go. And I looked at him and said, "Jake, dude, I'm sorry. I'm not gay.
I'm not that way.
I'm not, but you're one of my friends. I will always be there for you." And ever since then, I've always been his friend. Ever since then, like I've always
made a big connection too.
Yeah, she's my wife's best friend right now. So
Yeah.
I've always been his friend, like from the start. Very open to the LGBT community, everything like that. Like it's just how it has to be.
Well, it's just tough for me here, but I've had. It's not like I haven't had people say something to me or whatever, but it's very tough. It's just we deal with things the best way we can. I wasn't meaning to bring it down or anything, but
Oh, no, you're not.
it's Godzilla helps me with that. John Wayne helps me with that.
Come visit us.
God, I wish. My parents, taking care of my parents, planting my herbs and all of my plants, my I love my shows. That's why I do it 4 times a week. That's why I toured with a band for so long. And that's why I wrote albums or songs. That's why I wrote 2 books, and I've got 2 sitting here to finish. It's
I'll buy your books.
they're online. It's one of those things that we have to do what we have to do, and I'm thankful that Godzilla was part of my life.
Yeah.
And for you, I'm thankful that you shared your story. I love the fact that we are friends now, more so than we ever have been. I mean, we've met and we became instant friends.
Exactly. Like,
and the Godzilla just made us closer, which is really cool. I connected with Liz with herbs and all that stuff, and now I connected with you with Godzilla, so it's awesome.
I can say this right now though, like not to advertise for ourselves, but I would not be here right now seeing you if it wasn't for Natalie.
Right.
If it wasn't for
Psycho Bunny and
Psycho
Darian.
Bunny, Darian.
Right.
All those shows, all that stuff.
Eric. If it wasn't for
Eric. And I love that kid.
Yeah.
He's awesome. He's pretty awesome.
He's the one who got us all connected, like especially through Psycho Bunny. Like that's.
I'm so happy that when the invite went out from you and Eric, Natalie thought of us and said, "Do you guys want to join in?" And we went, "Absolutely!" And dear God, that was a great decision.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, they call Eric. A lot of people in the chat call Eric my son.
I just.
That's okay. I just adopted him. So yeah.
I just can't. I cannot get the image of the resting bitch face out of my head.
Well, if you don't mind, Frank, I'm going to do this for you and me and your dad and the memories. We gotta have Godzilla roar for your dad.
Yay!
We gotta. So this is for your dad. Oh, we can't forget Junior.
Oh, that's rad.
So that was for your dad. Oh, and Eric's still in here going, ah, thanks, guys.
I just saw it.
We love you, Eric. We love you, Eric. We do. We love you. But, man, you got a friend here in New York. It's too bad we're on, like, the freaking how many miles away.
We'll eventually come visit that area.
Hopefully, when this pandemic's over with.
You know, we have a plan that we want to kind of go across the country and visit all these wonderful people that we've happened to meet through Psycho Bunny, through you, through meeting you.
Well, if it wasn't for Talk for Teddy, if it wasn't for COVID, to be honest with you, this would have never happened either.
That's
actually true too.
There are pluses.
If it wasn't for COVID, we started doing we were fans of Psycho Bunny, watching Natalie's feeds left and right, and always commenting on her feeds through because she's Odd Mother, and Ludi, yeah, sorry. And I was
watching Darian's show a lot.
We were watching Darian's show, The Padded Room. We got connected with her. She was basically, hey, you guys want to come on and do this? We're like, yes, let's do this. And because we did a show called Quarantinis. Because we basically were like, well, the quarantine started here in California. Newsom locked everything down like majorly. You're like, okay, well, let's order a whole bunch of liquor from Bevo, have it delivered to our house, and like we just started bartending in front of everyone, and like that's what happened.
I made what we called Quarantinis, but in reality it was a Midori sour with extra whiskey in it.
And I was just chugging beers. Then I had Misfits playing and stuff like that, and black metal and stuff like that, and like they're like, well, what do you want to do here? I was like, well, we could do a show, we could do this, and I was like, and like when we started, Natalie contacted us, and she's like, hey, do you want to do this Saturday? And I was like, well, that's in like a couple hours. And she's like, well, what do you want to call your show? I was like, I don't know, the random show, because
I was like, the random show, because we're totally random and have no clue what we're going to talk about.
So we just came on and started talking about poisonous things, and started
the book of
douche, and then we started doing the cooking. We started doing cooking shows, and then we started talking about other poisonous stuff, and then we're like, okay, we're going to talk about black metal, we're going to talk about this, and
my favorite show is still Don't Fuck with Liz.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I still want you guys to join the network. I would love to have you guys still.
Oh yeah, we definitely are planning on it. We're just trying to get a better setup.
I'm building a PC next Friday. Next Friday, I'm building a PC with badass RAM, a Ryzen chip, and it's going to be done. So
awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. So and then so it's called the Random Show.
It's called a Random Show, and
should we put the A backwards?
We can do that. We can do that. Put it just backwards.
Yeah.
It
has to be crayons.
Yeah, I'm just saying that would be kind of cool. Make it cool. Like make it let's make it random letters, like different fonts, like random fonts.
Yes.
But with the A backwards.
Yes. The other reason I'm calling it the Random Show is because like we did Chicken Cordon Bleu one night, and then we talked about death and murder the next night, and then we did Norwegian lore. And then I talked about plants that could kill you. And then
we did one of the cooking shows we did was we cooked tongue.
I made lengua.
And we showed the whole process of
I grossed everybody out
cutting the skin off of
cutting it open and peeling it, and people couldn't handle it.
It's so gross. I would never watch that. I would never watch that.
It's like moist roast beef, though. It's so good.
Moist.
Nope. I hate that word.
Oh, another one.
She loves it, but yeah.
My best friend hates that word, so like I'll draw it out where like it looks like the letters are dripping.
Freaking Eric put down here. What's funny is I've got so many things about the Green Book of Douche in my newsfeed advertisement.
That's rad.
The Green Book of Douche lives on forever.
There you go. We have to come up with something for Godzilla, though, for ourselves, though. Something
That'd be
cool.
rad.
The Book of Godzilla. The Book of Godzilla by Frank and Ted. There you go.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
we could do something.
That'd be
Hey,
cool.
we still need to get together on those plants. You guys do the Godzilla thing.
Mm,
We do the plant thing.
mm-hmm.
We got this.
Yeah. Yeah. So we are now at 2 hours and 21 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
I have to pee so bad.
Yeah, there you go. Me too. And I'm thirsty and I'm sweating because I had the fan off and I have to work tomorrow. So,
I want cookies.
well, good for you. You just had some. But you know what, Frank, thank you so much for sharing your story and, doing the whole Godzilla thing with me. I love it. We could talk for hours. We might have to do a segment 2
We could.
about Godzilla. Because I would actually like to go through each movie.
We could.
And talk about the movie itself.
Well, this
and,
is just, on a random note. This is just a stack.
This is half of the stack.
My video game in there and all stuff, and then like another stack. This is not even a quarter of my collection right here.
Yeah, I have somewhere in this house. I have they came out with the pack. It was the 5 Godzilla or 4 Godzilla movies, and when you put them back to back, it made a picture of Godzilla.
It was the Gojira. It was the 1954 Godzilla. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wasn't it?
I think so.
Sleeve. Yeah, that was it was pretty cool. It was
all
really
VHS, all VHS. Yeah, I have it here somewhere. I just got to find it. So
yeah,
because I got to.
Harper just came up with the best name for your guys' book. How to grow your common garden lizard to Godzilla size.
Oh. Dude.
There's another one too. A Story of Monsters and Men by Ted Vanson and Frank Clevenger.
Oh yes.
I love it.
I like that better.
That is actually much better.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes.
Godzilla.
We'll have to do 2. One about growing things, and the other one of there you go. So yeah. Okay, Frank, we got our new book.
I'll start now.
So yeah, and Nick is saying now I want cookies.
I got foot stripes.
I have figs.
Oh, I want figs so bad. I
love
almost bought
figs,
some
but I
yesterday.
can't stand the seeds in them.
Yeah, well,
Oh,
unfortunately, figs give me acid indigestion.
Ooh.
Oh yes.
Yes, gas. But you know what? I had a great night with you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of this. We will do this again. We'll make plans, especially when I have to fill up space for empty shows. We'll do another one, and whenever. I mean, just a random shows. I love doing, and the Godzilla is just one that I really, really love.
Well, thank you for having us. I mean, for a second time. I mean, thank you for letting us as Psycho Bunny and everything coming on here. This is awesome. This is. I had to put that in there.
No, that's okay. But I was laughing at what Robert put. Read it.
The book of why the gecko can't give 15% on cards.
Why the Gecko can't give 50% on cards.
That is awesome. Oh, that wins the internet right there.
That is a T-shirt waiting to happen. A giant gecko.
I'm gonna design it. Let's do this.
There you go. A giant gecko walking through Tokyo, smashing things with a Geico logo on his tail, like a little flag.
To explain how he does. Yeah, he explains
15% on car insurance.
We can do this.
Nick says definitely bring Frank and Liz back. Frank and Liz we definitely need to have a chat ourselves. He's also the big Godzilla fan as well, and he has some of this stuff. So maybe what we'll do is we'll put together the part however they say it, part two. Yeah, we'll do it with. We'll get a couple other people that are Godzilla fans up here with us. So we just have to.
I'll make notes this time.
Yeah, me too. So we'll find a couple other guys that are really into it like we are, or girls, and we'll bring them on here, and we'll have a chat. We can have up to 10 people.
Oh, that'd be rad. We could do it.
Oh, how cool.
So, yeah, so let's, if you know a couple other people that are really into it, let me know, and I'll start looking too, and we'll definitely make this a fun show the next time.
Okay.
So, guys, Saturday night, for this week, ending with Talk with Teddy. Sorry, my ear itched because of the sweat. Saturday night with Talk with Teddy is actually going to be a fantastic show. Also because it's actually coming from a YouTube web series called Hillbillies in the Holler. And we are having Red from that series coming on the show, being a guest. And this guy chugged a full liter of moonshine.
Oh, God.
And this guy has a talent of chugging liquid in a second
not
flat.
dying?
No, and not dying, a second flat. This guy has a talent. But the reason I'm having him on is because of the YouTube series Hillbillies in the Holler. So if you look that up on YouTube, Hillbillies in the Holler, check out Red. He's funny as shit, and he's going to be here. He's just a redheaded hillbilly in bib overalls, talking moonshine, and everything else. It's just going to be a fun show.
I'm really hoping he chugs it now.
Well, I'm going to talk to him prior to see what he's going to do for us. So,
I want to see this.
he told me that he said when he chugged that shine, he was not good for like 3 or 4 days afterwards. So,
Dear God.
Well, then I don't want him to be in
Yeah.
a bad place. I did a shot of shine, and I was like, whoop.
yeah, I had a small little thing of shine, and I tried chugging it, but no way. I'm diabetic too. That would have killed me.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so tonight, guys, it was Frank Clevenger and his wife Liz. We were talking about Godzilla. We had a great time. Thank you so much for joining us. I did forget to mention our sponsor, which was mysteriousAdventurestours@gmail.com or mysteriousAdventurestours.com, because we're going over to Ireland next June if everything works out correctly. So, guys, please, one more time, don't forget, go and subscribe to my YouTube channel, please. Hit that little bell. I'm trying to get up to 100 subscribers. And Nick says you should play the Godzilla theme one last time as a closing theme. So the reason he doesn't die is he has no soul. Damn gingers. Yeah, I'm originally a ginger, so I have a soul.
I've been a towhead my entire time. Sorry.
It's natural.
There you go. So, all right, guys. So we're gonna get out of here. So Frank can go piss, and I can go get
Thank you.
dried off from sweating so much. All right, guys.
Have a good night.
You too. Take care, guys.
Bye.
All right. All right. Thank you and my guests for joining me here on Talk with Teddy. Be safe and look out for one another. Don't forget that Talk with Teddy is on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, so please go and subscribe. Thank you.